All right, welcome to the Agriscaping podcast. This is Justin Roner, and I am excited to share with you a little bit of a storyline. And this is the guest that I have today. Her name is Karen Doerflein, and she's got quite a story. This is a little unconventional approach to teaching children, changing the world, and I'm excited to bring you on. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much, Justin.
Now, I only heard kind of through the grapevine a little bit more about what you've been up to the last few years and stuff. And so I'm excited to just hear from the horse's mouth, as it were, a little bit more about what you did. And I understand that you actually decided to move your entire family overseas at one point.
Yes, we did. We knew when our kids were growing up, we said we want to take them out to another country for at least a year, put them all in a French immersion program, and went to Europe, deciding where we were going to live, and we ended up living in Asia. We prefer Asia over Europe, and the reason that happened is because we saw something on the BBC on a school there called the Green School, and then we watched a TED Talk by founder John Hardy, who originally founded John Hardy Jewelry, sold it, and then he founded the Green School in 2008. And after we saw that TED Talk, we said we are moving to Bali. So in 2012, we took our children and took them to the Green School, took them to a couple different countries in Asia, and then 2 years later, in June of 2014, we moved to Bali, Indonesia.
Wow, that's quite a move.
It was quite the move.
So I'm curious beyond in so many different ways right now. So let's see if I can sort my own curiosity down so we can get something of value out of it. But the I guess first question was, what ages were your kids?
Our kids, when we moved, they were in 6th grade, 4th grade, and 2nd grade.
Wow. 6th, 4th, and 2nd, huh?
Yes.
You basically had, what was that, 7, 9, and 11 or something like that?
Yep, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, I've got 3 kids that same age, and then I've got one more older than that. That's at 14. So it's okay. So what motivated this shift? I mean, the Green School, very curious about that too, but what really motivated the shift for you to make sure they got out and got overseas? You know, what was motivating all that?
One of the big things is we believed being in another country, we wanted them to have the experience of being in another country. When it ended up being Bali, big impact for us was the fact that the school taught entrepreneurship and finance. There's no walls on the school, and the fact that kids were going to school with kids from 40 other countries.
Wow. So
to have that experience, and one of the big reasons is we worked a lot when the kids were younger, building our companies, and we just said, you know what, our kids deserve it. There's never a perfect time to move, so we just set a date and we said we're doing it, and everything fell into place.
Well, that's a really cool timeline too for the kids in such a developmental age. You know, they're all very coherent. They can likely they probably all read at that point as well. They can probably all swim on their own.
Absolutely.
Wow. Now, I just pulled up, I did a little Google search on it, the Green School in Bali. That looks beautiful. And when you said the school has no walls, you literally mean there's no walls.
There is no walls. The school is a giant campus. Every structure is made out of bamboo. So the classrooms have no walls. There are animals throughout the campus. The school actually is on a river. We're literally in the middle of the jungle. It's on a river. The kids are shown how to plant rice, harvest it, cook it. There's an organic farm there, organic food lab. For lunches, the kids have salads and just fresh food. It's juices, squeezed juices. It's a totally different experience than most of the schools in the U.S.
Absolutely. I mean, just having a school with no walls. I mean, I'm looking at the big thatched roof on top of these bamboo structures. Very cool spiraling patterns and stuff as well. And what an amazing, definitely out of the box experience I'm sure the kids had, as well as your whole family.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really interesting. The school goes from preschool through grade 12, and the first day of school, they have all the kids in one area, and they showed a video on grades and exam results are not what make you successful, and they are not what determine your fate. And I was like, wow, we're here in the U.S., we're taught it's all about grades. And they also, their big thing is entrepreneurship and teaching kids to create jobs instead of just getting a job, and making a change and an impact on the environment and on the world at the same time.
Well, I definitely love that. I know I spend a lot of time with youth here in the Phoenix area, teaching them entrepreneurship. Like, there's a merit badge in the scouting organization, and that's one of my favorite ones to teach them, is teach them entrepreneurship. You know, kids ask for money, and rather than go to their parents, I say, let's go make it. Let's go create it. Let's go find a way to serve people so that they can earn it. And that's, yeah, we need more of this. So I'm really curious. Maybe it's, what kind of costs are involved into something like that? You know, getting kids into a school like that.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So in Bali, you can live all different levels of where you rent. Literally, you can live for $200 a month. We had a friend who was actually spending $25,000 a month. So all different levels as far as living. The school itself is about $11,000 to $12,000 per child per year. So it's not you know, a $2,000 school. It's about $11,000, and they are not even at a break-even point.
Wow.
What they have, they have a staff of 200. Each of the classrooms has an international teacher and an Indonesian teacher. There are about 400 kids at the school, and again, this is pre-K through grade 12.
I love it. I'm reading a little sign that they have there. I mean, it's an investment, obviously, into the kids' education, and this is a long-term kind of thing. But there's I guess I'm reading a little plaque that's in one of the gardens that says Green School Rice Paddies, where kids are our rice farmers, where learning how to grow rice is our job, and where harvesting, cooking, and eating the rice is our reward.
Yep.
That's very
Absolutely.
connected to everything. I mean, that is awesome.
Very connected. They have a yoga pavilion there. They have they teach meditation. So it's a very holistic approach for children. And I'm glad you teach entrepreneurship here, because in the U.S. I don't find many schools that teach anything about entrepreneurship or finance.
No, they really don't. And it's unfortunate. And wow, I mean, this will be riveted in their minds for their entire lives, I'm sure. I mean, I lived a couple years in Germany, but I did that later as a late teens, early 20s. And so that definitely had a huge impact on me. But as a little kid, I mean, the things that impacted me as a kid, when I was in that same age group, I was working on a farm, or I had a farm in our family, my grandpa's dairy farm, and so the last dairy farm in Tempe, Arizona. So I definitely know how that age range that you guys experienced, that definitely it's like how they make the rules of the world. Like how the world works is basically from those age ranges that you guys took your kids there.
Yep, absolutely.
That is awesome. Well, what a gift and what a blessing to be able to do that. And I mean, it sounds like with, you know, I look at some of the costs of other private schools and stuff. That's not really far off. And I'm sure the cost of living in Bali, like you said, it has a wide range of what you can, what's affordable. But I know that things grow a lot easier there than they do here in Phoenix area. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely. And the school is growing fairly quickly. They're actually looking at another location. They're supposed to build one in Tulum, Mexico.
Oh wow!
Also, the neat thing is they have a village called Green Village. It's greenvillagebali.com, where all of the structure, all the houses are made out of bamboo. There's about 11 of them right now. So we actually lived in those houses for 18 months. Sustainable farming. Again, you're on the river. We could walk our kids to school. We would pass, literally, when butterflies were out, we'd count up to 75 butterflies. There would be cows, and you walk through this dirt path. That was incredible.
Wow. So tell me more about the types of projects that your kids and the students worked on at the Green School.
Yeah, absolutely. So the kids learned about sustainability, and they would work on projects from recycling. There would be speakers that came in that were turning water bottles in Costa Rica into surfboards. They did shark conservation projects, so where they went out to different islands in Indonesia. These are school trips. They would go out for 4 days, learn about sharks. One of my sons actually did a shark release. They would go to the beach, learn about conservation of the ocean, very hands-on. Go into other villages where there was not access to clean water to figure out solutions for water. So a lot of different projects. And the kids were encouraged to really think out of the box and come up with projects on their own. There are a couple kids there who are currently on global TED Talks where plastic's an issue everywhere. But in Bali and on islands, sometimes you see it a lot more, and they'll just throw bags into the rivers, and you see all this garbage wash up on shore. These two girls from Green School, two sisters, started Bye Bye Plastic Bags about 4 years ago, and they're about 11, 9 and 11 at the time. And Bali is now going to eliminate plastic bags because of these two girls, and they're now on global TED Talks.
That's awesome.
They also want,
just from what they experienced out there, huh?
Absolutely. They also do a lot for raising money for scholarships for Balinese children, because you're in Bali, so you want your kids going to school with Balinese children as well. So they find ways how to raise money, whether it's making organic soap. They would do big fairs where they would make their own products, the kids would, and then people would come in and buy them to raise money for the scholarships for the Balinese children.
Wow. Well, I'm just amazed and frustrated again with my own school system, but that's just a different story entirely, right?
You can always move to Bali.
So how long did you guys actually live there?
That's a great question. We planned on 1 year. We ended up staying 2 years. And honestly, if we didn't have the companies we had here, I believe we would still be there. It was our kids have never been happier than there. They made incredible friends. They weren't on electronics. We were outside all of the time. And when you have kids that love going to school, our youngest is 9 now. She would get mad at me if I even had to take her to immigration for 3 hours if she missed any school. So we stayed 2 years, and we were able to travel with them to Philippines, Cambodia, Myanmar, China. We thought we're over there, so we're gonna travel.
Wow. That is awesome. I love it. I love what you guys have done, and being able to get your family kind of started off on this kind of a foot. That's awesome that they love school. Now, how long have you been back? I guess is another question.
We came back in June of 2016.
So then they've gone through 1 whole year of school back here in the States now.
1 year, correct.
So how was the transition back to normal school, as it were?
Honestly, it was horrible. And it was so horrible. Honestly, my 9-year-old is such a free spirit, and she's so happy. The first 30 to 45 days we were back, she was depressed. She said she hates humans because they went from this free, amazing life to coming back and having to conform. And I think that's really where here we missed the boat, where children are taught and they're rewarded to conform and regurgitate. So it was not easy. It was the toughest for her. So we promised that they will go to another school. If they build it in Tulum, Mexico, if it was there now, then that would be a pretty easy commute compared to what we were dealing with.
Yeah, Bali's quite a far distance, as well as the time difference is actually probably the bigger issue in working a business.
Yeah, we had a 15-hour time difference, and our commute was anywhere from 26 to 36 hours
Yeah, wow.
coming back and forth. But it was worth it.
Well, I definitely, based on what you're sharing with me, I mean that definitely would be worth it. I mean, the rising generation, I'm very concerned on the rising generation. It's like there's kind of a huge disconnect on what work actually is. That's something I found with the new hires that we've got coming out of high school. Um, and just common sense apparently isn't so common.
Absolutely. It's, when we came back, I was like, wow, people are connected as far as technology, but we are really so disconnected. And they're saying the new addiction is cell phones and how many likes, and that's basically the same as somebody being addicted to alcohol. So yeah, I think if we can create young entrepreneurs to inspire others and get a lot of people out of the entitlement mentality,
Oh yeah.
it'll be a good thing.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many places that actually goes. I guess how it spiders into kids' lives in so many different parts of their lives. Just that entitlement mentality. I mean, even what I would consider great kids from great families, as I've experienced them around a work environment, there's a totally different experience. It's like just a huge disconnect on what making a difference for someone else means because they haven't bothered to ask. Well, if someone liked it, then it's good, right? And that's about it, but if it makes enough of a difference that it provides value that someone's willing to pay for it, totally different disconnect. It's like, what's something worth? They just want to, well, I want a raise. I've been working here for this long and I should get a raise. I was like, well, let's look at the actual, the metrics and how they actually relate to reality and serving people. And have you actually made a difference for anybody to justify the pay? I mean, it's like they're totally disconnected. And they're like, what does that matter? I'm here longer. If I'm here longer, then I should get paid more. It's like, oh, well, not really. And very curious things. But obviously, I'm dealing with some specific issues in my own business right now. But I'm sure having run businesses yourself, you understand that there's a lot of interesting dynamics with the new hires.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So is Bali a cure-all for everyone?
No, I don't think no, absolutely not. It's not a cure-all for everyone. I would say it's, I tell people if there is something you want to do, if you want to move to another country, if you want to do anything, you just really have to say you need to declare that you're going to do it and set a date, because there's never a good time to get married. There's never a good time to have a baby. There's never a good time to move out of the country. But I believe that people thought we were crazy for moving. When we said we're going to Asia for a year, and so many people never even leave the country, they thought we were crazy. But what was interesting, when we got to Asia and we got to Bali, and all these different families are in Bali, there were people who have been doing this and traveling with their family for 5, 6, 10 years. It wasn't a big deal that we decided to move for a year. And what I realized is, when we came back, that really, I looked around, I'm like, wow, not much has changed for most people here. Most people's lives are still the same. Most people, if they're sitting in Starbucks when we left for 8 hours a day, they're still there 2 years later. But I mean, the biggest impact was the change on us. So, and I think anybody who moves out of the country would probably tell you that same thing.
Now, I've been asked to ask a question about greenstone. What is greenstone?
Oh yeah, Greenstone is great. So Greenstone, when kids are in 8th grade at Green School, they have a project called Greenstone, and they basically do a 13-minute presentation, TED Talk style, on something of their choosing, and it has to do with what they've learned at Green School and what they want to do. So it's kind of a bridging the gap project on what they want to go out and do and what they learn. So kids did things on human trafficking, on sustainability, on water issues, and you can see them all on YouTube. They're called the Green School. They're pretty amazing.
Cool. Yeah, I see a couple of clips and stuff I'm finding online right now. Awesome. So now that you're back, how are you and your family implementing some of these things you learned back into normal USA life?
That's a good question. Very conscientious about how much garbage and trash that we are responsible for. So recycling, I wish recycling was a law everywhere, because we realize the impact on the environment. You know, using stainless steel bottles instead of plastic water bottles, and really being aware of where our food's coming from and what's in it. You know, the more you know about the fish you're buying and the produce, really the less we want to eat. And my daughter went vegetarian on her own at 8 years of age, because in Bali, you know, here you don't see the slaughterhouses, but in Bali, if you can hear the pigs from when you're walking somewhere and they're being, you know, butchered, it's a different thing. So daughter went vegetarian. My husband's on his way to that. Organic, pretty much everything that we can buy organic. Farms. So I think what you are doing is awesome.
Well, it's the best way we can make Bali happen here, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
If at all, finding all the legal pathways has been some of our funnest challenges, I guess you could say, to do it. That's another interesting thing. It's like almost healthy is almost against the law in some states.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which
but
is
I think awareness, just bringing in awareness. You guys are bringing awareness, and when more people see what you're doing, you know, the impact of that, I think is going to be incredible for people.
Well, and we're hoping to make it, I mean, with what we do with Agriscaping, obviously, we want to make it easy enough and be able to have it weave into a modern society, one that becomes more obviously conscientious of, you know, not only where things go, but how they can be recycled in a space. You know, how we compost things and how we integrate and how we improve soil quality over time. That it doesn't have to have a bunch of external inputs in order to grow a soil that can actually grow food or even grow bananas. I mean, we've been having a lot of fun figuring out how to grow things in the desert, but not because we're being wasteful with our water or anything like that, as some people might think, but it's actually that we're actually recycling our water. We're using gray water. We're integrating things right into the space that we're already using to keep ourselves clean and to just operate as a family, but integrating them in ways that grows soil. Just like a rainforest can grow and create soil, we can grow soil in the desert if we're more conscientious of how we manage that water system.
No, it's incredible. So I'm excited about helping get the word out on that. And the other thing is, when you were talking about that, you know, the chemicals and so many of the products that people are eating, and they don't even realize what's in it. You know, one of the big things when we were in Bali, when the rainforest fires were happening in Borneo, and, you know, we would see people on the news they had masks, and the haze and the smoke and the destruction and the orangutans, like this destruction was incredible. And when I learned that it's from palm oil, which is in almost everything that people eat, if you go and you buy Oreos or Cheez-Its or all these things, palm oil is in all of that. So some of the kids, and my kids, some of the foods they won't eat because they know what the palm oil, what it takes, and the destruction it's causing over there. So I think just we're much more aware, and I hope that stays. Otherwise, we'll be taking another trip sooner than later.
Well, if they've got a new school coming to Mexico, that's something that I'm going to be looking into this a little bit more. I mean, we love to take our kids on little trips. It almost feels like here in the States, my kids go to school, then they come back, and then I actually take them to life. They have a life school kind of experience with us here. And they have to be in charge of different zones in our yard and growing food and raising animals and building those accountabilities as best we can here in the States. And it's been difficult. It's been a long road for us. You know, just getting chickens approved in our neighborhood took 6 years.
Oh my gosh!
But now we had to call them ornamental jungle fowl for 6 years.
Wow.
And so just by a different nomenclature, we were able to kind of circumvent some of the other challenges that most everybody else has due to a prejudice reaction on most city codes regarding animals and productive pets. And so we had to find other ways or find breeds and varieties that didn't look like the norm just to get away with it, as it were.
Wow.
But that's changed. It took 6 years, but now, even municipalities seem to be starting getting on board. I know Tempe is definitely getting on board with a lot of stuff. Scottsdale's even starting to do so. I was quite surprised actually with our project that we've got in Scottsdale right now for gardens, how quickly we got it approved when we took a different channel. So rather than trying to get all the food safety laws accommodated and the landscaping laws accommodated, we actually did it as an art installation, as a culinary art installation. And by going that channel, we were able to find a way that would get our approvals through a lot faster and get our permitting process a lot more simplified by simply doing an art installation.
Very interesting.
But these are the kind of things, it's like in Bali, my guess is the regulations aren't as strict, or if they were, you never had to experience them because of the kind of sustainable community that green school has created.
Yeah, definitely not as strict, but you can't bring plastic to certain areas. So definitely not what we deal with here.
So do they have I go to some of the high schools in parts of Phoenix and in California, I remember as well. It's like you go through metal detectors. Do they have plastic detectors for the school?
No plastic detectors. They only brought in metal detectors when Ban Ki-moon came to speak, and they actually had Jane Goodall as well.
Oh, wow.
Come to speak. Yeah, which is pretty incredible. So that no plastic detectors, but everything, your food is put in a banana leaf.
Oh, so notice it's like you want something disposable, it's also compostable, completely compostable. It's not even a derived product. It's literally a banana leaf.
It's a banana leaf, and when you put your trash away, there's a banana leaf, a banana leaf pile, a food waste, and then if there's anything else, but no plastic utensils, none of that, nothing.
Well, I'm now adding a new thing to my list of benefits of growing bananas at home. Okay, banana leaf plates. I like that.
Banana leaf plates. Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
That is very cool. So what was the most surprising thing for you when you went there to Bali?
The most surprising thing was people said, oh, your kids are going to need this adjustment time. They're going to need, our kids literally, there was no adjustment period. None. There was nothing that they needed, and I love that about kids. And that amazed me. And also just the people we met from all over the world, a lot of business owners at that school, from former Olympians to, there was a woman who was on Asia's Next Top Model. She was one of the original hosts of that, to people had started all these amazing companies, and then people had decided to stay and start companies. One of our friends started, they were there the same time we were there, and they started something like an American Girl doll clothing. The clothing is for the American Girl doll sizes, but it's all out of recyclable material. And really what impacted me was what the kids were doing and what some of the kids wanted to do and the change that they wanted to make. And that blew me away, because so many times I talk to adults and they don't feel like they can do anything or make a difference. So when you see kids taking a stand and making a difference, that was really impactful.
Now, as a parent,
nothing really surprising.
Nothing really surprising. Well, it's cool. It sounds like your kids were definitely prepped before they went. They kind of it sounds like they didn't have to have a withdrawal from all these electronic devices, that they were really going to live the experiences they often found, on TV or movies and stuff like that. And it sounds like they kind of got that.
Absolutely. Our kids had no phones before we left. And so no, they weren't on iPads. They weren't on any of that.
Yeah, this last weekend we went to Canyon Lake I went with 22 scouts from 11 year to 14 years old, and took them out just kayaking. They're like, no motorboat? And I'm like, no, we're moving on our own power this time. And there were two guys that didn't know my rules from before, and I confiscated their electronics, and it was like I'd taken their heart out. You know, it was and they asked like about every time they saw me, they like ask at least twice within an hour. If we crossed paths and stuff, it's like, hey, can I get my electronics back? Can I get my phone back? I'm like, no, we're not done with camp. We're still out here in the water right now. I'm not going to give you your phone. But it was just interesting how their own identity was so connected to it. Like the one kid, he's like, oh, it's weird. I haven't been out. I'm not used to being outside without my earbuds in. I was like, really?
Wow.
Without your earbuds in. So he's just always zoning out. And so it's interesting, but thankfully it was only 2 out of my 22 that were kind of stuck in that kind of scenario.
Wow.
Now, as a parent, I guess I'm really curious, and as an entrepreneur, I guess as well, with your businesses back home and stuff, tell me a little bit more about how you stayed connected to the things you needed to stay connected with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually came back to the States 4 times a year for about a week. But with technology, the good thing about technology is I could do meetings via Skype or Zoom. It was just dealing with different time zones. So sometimes getting up at 2:30 in the morning to be on a conference call. So that was really no big deal. My husband does development and has a construction company, and pretty fortunate for him to be able to be out of the country. But he did come back. He came back probably 5 times a year. So we would switch off what times we traveled. So we were always with the kids. One of us was always with the kids.
Well, that's good.
You figure it out. I tell people if you want something to happen, there's always a way to figure it out.
Well, and then God forbid if both of you, if you both were gone and died, you'd have those frozen scenarios, and you'd end up with some crazy ice witch in the family. Now, I'm just kidding. So.
None of that, not yet.
None of that. So this is good. This is really good. You've got entrepreneurs instead, and they obviously have both of their parents still alive and well, and never had the chance of really losing both of them at the same time with the trade-off, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's really cool. This has been an enjoyable conversation, and I'm curious if there's anything else that you'd like to kind of weave into this conversation and share with everybody, just about that whole experience, or just some of the things that it's inspired you to do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what it's inspired me to do, and even our kids, is definitely travel more. We're thinking about picking a different country for 3 months out of the year. So traveling to different countries, having a 3-month experience, just because I just believe experiences and not things are really what shape us. And then I want to take our kids to Africa. I do work over there putting in water wells, and Cambodia and Nepal. I went to Nepal after the earthquake to volunteer. I think it's important that being in another country and seeing those things are make you more grateful and really make us realize how much we have here. We are in such a amazing country with so much, but yet I think when you travel and you see people who don't have as much, but yet they're happy, they're grateful, and I think the U.S. can use lessons in that, and just being grateful we have so much, and yet we have such a high depression rate, suicide rate, ADD. It was interesting over the Green School, they did have a certain percent of kids who were classified as ADD or ADHD when they came to Green School, but there was none of that. Like the kids, it disappeared because they were connected to, being outside and not in this little box. So I would just say, be aware and know that if there's something that you want to make a difference in, whether it's the environment, whether it's animals, everybody can make an impact, and those impacts, they all start with us. So just being more conscious and aware.
Now, one more question. This is great stuff. I love it. And one more question I guess I've got on when you came back after having a school experience like that, how did you go about selecting a school back here in the States?
Good question. My husband looked at schools, and there's no school like the Green School here.
No.
The closest thing we could find in our eyes was a Mission Montessori. Mm-hmm. And, there's Waldorf School here, but it's farther. But I also look at, homeschooling. I think if your kids are that miserable in school, there's something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we ended up taking one of our kids out of school for a year, and did homeschooling because he was just it was kind of a toxic environment for him. School was not fun. It was just
Wow.
torture. And so I'm like, wow, where'd our kid go? And so we brought him home and just had him learn from, he just joined me in the gardens and stuff. And we just kind of learned in a different way for a while. And it kind of detoxified him, I guess you could say. And then we found a different school system that worked a little better for him. But yeah, so it's
Wow.
tough. I don't put it all on the school to teach my kids. I think I'm done with that. I've got to be a little more vigilant here.
100%. I agree with that. Being more vigilant, and also just being aware that if we're having kids participate in sports or in school and everybody's getting awards, even though they don't win, they're getting awards just for showing up. And we just have to pay attention to what we're teaching our kids, because when a lot of kids get out there to the real world, they're going to realize you're not as special as everybody said, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do the work. So just being mindful of what we are passing down to our kids. And for anybody who has kids that are getting close to going to college, there's a new school that just launched. It's called Global Degree. And it is where literally no matter what your child wants to go to school for, they travel to different countries. If they want to be in charities, they travel to all these different charities, and they are a part of that. It was just launched. Enrollment started about a month ago. It's called Global Degree, and the price, it looks like it's about what you would pay for, say, a $30,000 a year school.
Mm-hmm.
So I think things are changing. Some things are changing.
Yeah, I just pulled that up too. So Global Degree looks like it's you just look up Global Degree online.
Global Degree, .tv.
.tv. Yep, that's what I just found. Visit every country to graduate.
Yeah, pretty amazing. I think I might go back to school if they let me in that one.
Yeah. How young do you need to be to get into school?
I know, exactly.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, definitely it helps build perspective. I'm just watching little screenshots on this whole thing. These are some great things for people to be checking out. Use the internet for what it's probably best used for, and that's researching, exploring, and finding out. But we can't distance ourselves from the actual experience. It's like it can't just be all a virtual world, right?
Absolutely.
Got to actually get out there and do it. Our reflections of experience. This is not the actual experience that I'm watching here. It looks really cool, and I could go and tell my friends about what I saw, but what I experienced will stay with me for a lifetime. I won't even have to remember, right?
100%. Absolutely.
Well, this has been a great time. Any final last words?
Just know what I think people have so much to offer, and to realize if you feel like you're stuck, just getting out of your routine. I mean, just think about what you wanted to do when you were growing up, and think about what you wanted for your kids when they were little. And if you're not doing that, or you don't have a plan to do what you wanted to do, just make the plan, because things will fall into place if there are things you want. I think the worst thing for people is going to be to look back and say, I should have, would have, or could have. So again, no perfect timing, but just go out and do it.
Yep, I believe in that as well. You set the intention. It seems like the universe starts working in your favor. But if you never set an intention, you never put that goal out there, nothing will align.
Absolutely, 100%.
If you don't know what
100%.
you want, you just get more of that.
Absolutely. But I mean, Justin, with what you're doing, we need more companies like yours. And so I'm excited to see the growth of what's going to happen for you, and how you're going to impact people in so many different ways.
Well, and I'm so excited to see what new entrepreneurship ideas come out. My own kids have been kind of getting entrepreneurial around even just the house. They'll see some things, and my son will come in about once a week. He'll come in and say, "Hey, Dad, I noticed that this is happening on the job site, or this is happening in the backyard, or here's this is going on." He's like, "What if we created?" And he'll just go on and on about a new invention or some way that we can fix that. And I just love that perspective. How he's so excited just to find out, how he can make a difference and make a change and improve something, or how the animals are, running, or if they're, all those kind of things. It's beautiful to see what experiential learning does for a kid, as opposed to just book learning and parroting.
Absolutely.
So I'm totally with you on that. I think what you've done, you've taken experiential learning to a whole new level, taking your kids out to Bali. I'm so glad to hear that there's an actual organization that's growing enough that they are considering putting another one in Mexico. That's definitely closer to home. And man, I'm excited to see what your development ends up turning into, with the Agriscaping integrated into it, as well as with everything you got going on. I mean, you seem to be connecting with a lot of great people. Yeah,
we're excited about that as well. So I can't thank you enough for doing the podcast and having me be a part of it. And just want to express my gratitude. So I appreciate it.
Well, you are so welcome. And maybe I'll close off with a little quote that I have read many times, and see if I can pull it up real quick. All right, so here's a quote. It was actually from a book by Faust. So we were talking a little bit German. You got a nice German last name. Me and your husband both speak German, and so this comes from some of those originating things. It says, "Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now." So that's our message for you today. Yep, it's the universe aligns with those who begin something, not with those who just think and talk. So move forward. Whatever you got in mind to do and create, move forward with action, and things start to align. Just as you experienced, it's what I experience all the time with our Agriscaping, but being continually in that dream and putting it into action, I think, is one of the key components to it all.
Absolutely. And live with intent.
Yes. With real intent. Having faith that the way is available. It may not be in you yet, but it's available. The way to get there, it's possible. If someone else has done it, or if it's even in your own concept of possibility, it's available to you.